President Wisdom. First up is devices for high school students. We're asking for approval to purchase 1,250 Lenovo laptops for the 9th grade class coming in at a total cost of $1,318,100. Second is devices for the middle and elementary school students. And we're looking for an approval to purchase 2,400 Lenovo Chromebooks for middle school and elementary school students. It's, as you can see in that administrative content, it's 1,250 Chromebooks for the rising 5th grade students. We're looking to use Chromebooks with the kindergarten beginning in we're talking 2023-24, so it's 1,150 Chromebooks for the kindergarten students to be deployed sometime in 2024. I know that we had the conversation with Dr. Mattei, who actually we have Cat Lawyer here to answer our questions instead of Dr. Mattei. So we talked about, I know that there was some conversation about deploying them in January, and Director Miller and I felt that if we were going to deploy them for kindergarten, that perhaps we wait till the spring or even, for the start of the following year, because, they're barely going to be using their iPads, and then I think the children might be okay with it, but, now you're saying to parents, oh, here's a new device in January, when I personally have an issue with sending devices home with kindergarten students to begin with. So Dr. Mattei said that we're purchasing them. They're not laptops that age out. They're Chromebooks, so they're web-based, and that they don't get updated regularly. You know how every 4 or 5 years we talk about a new computer, so we don't have that with this, and it's good that we order them now so we have them for next year, irrespective.
Dr. Chance is facilitating some discussions are part of, or I do want to make sure our curriculum house is having discussions with teachers in regard to, especially those primary grades. We're thrust into the pandemic, and someone mentioned earlier that's when we became one-to-one. Now we have an opportunity to reflect on things. What do we want to do with technology with our youngest students? If we don't believe these devices should be going home with students, then there's ramifications we have to figure out, because we don't have cards, and there's a cost involved in that, and we would have to figure that out. And but Lou, do you want to? I know you.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that timeline, largely because we've been engaging in conversation with our kindergarten teachers as a component of this process, really to get their feedback, particularly because we have a few kindergarten teachers who teach full-day kindergarten who've been trialing the Chromebooks to see how these devices, as Dr. O'Donnell's indicated, that could be more cost-effective for us, potentially could fill the same role that an iPad currently does for our kindergarten students. And of course, anytime you do that type of institute that type of change, particularly for kindergarten teachers who are also in the midst of a new ELA curriculum implementation and those types of things, we want to be cognizant of the fact that expectations are clear in terms of how the devices are to be used in the classroom. We also think there's a communication layer that we need to engage in with parents in terms of how we intend for the devices to be used at home when we do send them home, which is something that we didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do when we made the transition from carts to sending them home, because it was in the midst of the pandemic, right? So really what we'd like to do is deploy the Chromebooks to our kindergarten students as far into the spring as we can do it. And because what that will do is allow us as much time as we can to convene our kindergarten teachers, get their input and feedback around things like how can we best educate parents? What are the expectations for the devices in the classrooms for our students? And those types of things. And to the question is that remains to be answered is, are we still going to send them home on a daily basis? Because again, that was something that we did as a result of the pandemic. Now that we're sort of out of that, what's the best utilization of those devices for our youngest learners? And we think it's important that kindergarten teachers are a part of that conversation.